Brace for impact. Cross the line.
This is my destiny. It is the truth I see. In this world I find a way to cross the line. Everybody's doing what everybody's doing. Everybody's doing the same thing. I'll be doing what I'll be doing. I'll be doing my thing. The world spins round to the right, they say. I'll be spinning the other way. Doing what I can, doing what I know. The world's my stage and I'm the show. It is my destiny. It is the truth I seek. In this world I find a way to cross the line. No possibilities for originality. Don't be left behind. Go ahead and cross the line.
Hey, now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm not going solo on that ass. So it is not the same. I'm joined by BQ. We'll call this the Brace for Impact Lounge, maybe, or what did we used to call our? We used to do a show every once in a while. What did we used to call it?
The Impact Republic.
Yeah, it's because I used to do the column called the Combat Republic. That was my
Right.
That's my I had that website, and then someone told me it sounded like an MLW faction, so I got rid of it. I was like, okay, I can't live with that anymore.
But that's how we met. We randomly were like two Air Force guys watching TNA that came together. I don't have the Love Me wall like you do in the background.
Yeah,
I've never had interest in that.
Yeah, so the story behind that is I do a lot of remote work, and they said that they kind of like stuff like that. So I have all of I got my medals behind me. I got I could scroll up, but I could pan up to show the whole thing. But I got my basic training picture behind me, and I got a tech school, all that stuff. It's surprisingly it's in color. We had color cameras back then.
Right.
But yeah, dude, it's been a long time since we've talked. I've been wanting to get you on here for a long time, and I was like, well, you know what? TNA took a month off. And there's not really much to talk about, so fuck it. Let's just shoot the shit and have BQ on, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I feel bad because I actually told people, and I told you, they're not taking time off.
Right.
Like that's what I was told, and then I really thought about it. I'm like, I don't think they think they're taking time off. You know what I mean? Like because they're not doing best of episodes and award shows or. I don't know, even know if they do award shows, but when they give out the awards, whatever. Yeah. I think to them that's filler, but what they're doing right now, they don't view as filler. So
tonight, I don't know if you were in the chat, but tonight's episode, Hardy Halloween, I assumed was going to be an all new Hardy like compound thing that they do. Cause years ago on the WWE network, they did a Hardy Halloween skit, like special. It was like a 30-minute thing. And I actually thought it was pretty funny, to be honest with you. And so I thought they were going to do something like that, but no, it was just like a best of the Hardy compound with Matt and Jeff in front of a 45-inch television plasma screen from like 2006, shooting to like, here's what we did in 2016. Like here's Decay. Here's the time that Maxwell, or whatever his name is, pinned Rockstar Spud. So I didn't watch. I just ain't got that kind of time or that kind of patience.
And I didn't dislike all that stuff by any means. I think it progressively got worse.
Right.
I thought the last one they did with the system was some of the worst television I ever seen. Yeah. But the very first one I enjoyed, and then the next couple, the tag team one, and then the one with Decay, I thought they were fine. Yeah. And then it got silly, like everything does in wrestling.
Yeah, it got played out. So TNA, maybe I don't see how they could possibly think they weren't taking a month off, but they clearly are. And there's been some people out there, the TNA diehards that Carlos Silva could take a shit on their head and they would be like, oh, this is art. This is good. This is good stuff. They're defending them taking a month off. But it's like, well, the talent needs time off. It's like, guys, the talent's not taking time off. They're working indies. They're doing other stuff. Like if TNA is not running shows, they're not getting paid. So they have to go like work elsewhere, and that's what they're doing. Like nobody's taking any time off. TNA is just not producing new television shows.
And they're taking, when they are working, they're working 2 to 3 days a month for TNA.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I feel so bad for them. Like they just needed a vacation, I guess.
Yeah, seriously.
3 days a month. But yeah, so here we are. I did solicit some questions and topics from the Patreon universe. Go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. If this is the first time you're watching Brace for Impact or listening to Brace for Impact, because we open it up to the lounge. This is our first ever co-stream. I tell you, I've been wanting to do this for a while because I watch a lot of 49er podcasts, and a lot of the 49er podcasters, they're like friends, and they will just get the two channels together and they will co-stream at the same time and build each other's channel up. And I was like, that's smart, right? And so a lot of these guys are lifting each other up, all like, you know, Larry Kruger and Damon Bruce and Grant Cohn and all those guys. So they do a really good job on YouTube. I was like, well, we could do, TNA guys could do stuff like that. So finally made it happen. All right. So I got, let's see. Can you ask, this is from Humble Beast on Patreon. Can you ask the negative one? That's you. Not Brody Lee's son, Brody Jr., but you. Yeah. Has he heard anything about Macklin and Ali being re-signed? If TNA lose these two, it would be a big blow because the male wrestling free agent list is dry. I'm gonna go ahead and answer for you. No, but go ahead. You can answer yourself.
Yeah, I put it out there a lot that I don't get contract information.
Yeah.
I can ask, hey, is someone under so when I asked, is Cedric Alexander under contract? I said no. Right. I know Sean Stapp came out and said he wasn't, but then 2 weeks later said, oh, his contract's almost over. So yeah, I resort back to what I said. He was not under contract. Yeah. I can ask something like that. I can't be like, hey, who's coming up unsigned? That's just not my business.
Right. So let me like give a little bit insight to the people, because I don't think this is something that you've ever explained to them. But it's something that you and I have talked about. Like the folks that you talk to that work for TNA, those are your legitimate friends. So like you really like these people and they like you. And so what you don't want to do is be kind of a guy that's only talking to them when you need information, right? And so that's not the relationship that you have. And so and constantly asking, like you say, Mark questions would maybe ruin that relationship. So if you're asking like trivial stuff, it's probably gonna, like, things are gonna go south, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I may have said that once or twice. I was like, there are friendships involved here. It's not just like I'm just emailing so-and-so and like, hey, let me get this answer. You know, I can't, and I have conversations that aren't just wrestling too. So, right. You know, I just can't sit there and continually, hey, I need this info. Like that's, you know, it's just not something I can do. But there's certain info that I'm just not privy to, and people keep asking me for it. And I try to make that clear. Like, I can't tell you about creative. I can't tell you about anything that hasn't happened yet. Right.
Like you're not going to get like, hey, who's going to be the world champion in Bound for Glory? Like no one's going to tell you that. So
right.
Yeah. And if so, the Scoops game, which I don't see you as being a guy that's in the Scoops game. I also don't see you as a journalist either. I just see you as a YouTuber that just kind of stumbled on a couple of friendships, and occasionally folks will tell you things, right? And the reason why they're telling you is because they want to get that side of the story out. It's not a parasitic relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? Which I think a lot of, and I'm not going to say any names like specifically, but I think there's some folks in the Scoops game that it might be a parasitic relationship at times. And so like, that's just not how you do things. Like you don't use your friends like that. So
yeah. And all these connections over time were built because of my honesty. People have always respected the honesty, where there's obviously that like that group on Twitter and the former listeners that say, oh, he's negative, but right. I've never been told that by anyone, you know, on screen or off screen out there, that I'm being negative. They always say your honesty is appreciated. Hearing the other side of it is appreciated. Like they don't just want to hear from the marks. They like the other side of it, because they said we learn by hearing from both sides.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had, wrestlers at time in the DMs or on-screen talents or whatever, and just like, hey man, they appreciate more that I'm covering the company than anything, because really I'm the only person in the United States, like self-made, who has done this that hasn't too much. I mean, obviously you as well, but I mean,
but you got 10,000 subs. Like you really built like a big deal over there, and you've been doing it since what year? So it's 2016.
Right. 2016. So
okay.
it's I didn't get the rub is what I'm getting at. Like I started from scratch.
Yeah.
So anyone else that might have larger subscriber base or larger listener base, they got the rub from somewhere. There wasn't just,
they were working for a bigger publication that had already been established, right? You just started you started with 0 listeners and built a subscriber base from the ground up, which I mean that's like awesome. So all right, Humblebee says, ask why TNA doesn't want to bring back Rohit Raju. He's a big fan. He'd like to see him team up with Jake something. Yeah. So it was weird when Rohit left. He's been back a couple of times. So you'd think that he's a guy that they could find something for, right? He's a talent. I think the guy is super talented. I always thought that he would be a good manager because he's like a smaller guy, but he can talk. He's got a lot of charisma. And I thought maybe he could be a manager for a Jake something or a manager for one of those guys. But they for whatever reason they just can't seem to find a way to bring him back. What are your thoughts on Rohit Raju and why he was never brought back?
Well, I can give you actual info on him. I'll be transparent. That is one of the people I talked to in TNA when he was there.
Yeah.
And someone that I haven't spoken to him in a few months, but I kind of consider a friend a little bit. And he very much wants to come back. To this day, he wants to. There's people in the company that do want to bring him back. It's I can't say at what level. there's a certain level they're like, hey, we're interested, and then you get to a certain level and they appear not to be.
Right.
I can kind of tell you off camera a little more what I'm talking about, but some of the ones who need convincing ultimately are not on board, I guess.
Right.
But there's a lot of people under them that would love to bring him back, but he does want to.
Can't be right. It can't be a money issue. It can't be like it can't be a money issue. Like he's probably not like holding him up for like a big bag or something like that. I'm pretty sure the guy would come in for a reasonable rate. Yeah,
it is. When he left the first time, he bet on himself because they were unwilling to raise his. They wanted to re-sign him to the same contract he was on.
Yeah,
basically, and he's kind of like, "Hey, I outperformed that." You know what I mean? And that's there was no negotiation. You know, like how the Jasmine Snick story came out. She's like, there was no negotiation. Like,
right.
That's where he ran into, where it's like, hey, it's this or nothing. So he kind of like bet on himself, but he wants to come back. I know that for a fact.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Okay. Let me get so Billy from Philly, aka Steen fan. He's got a few on here. I'm gonna try to get to most of them. He said, "What's your take on TNA's handling of Tessa between the crowd heat and her lack of direction? Is this a slow rehabilitation or soft write-off? Is there still a plan to rebuild her as a main eventer?" What are your thoughts on Tessa?
So, I would have said that. I think you kind of alluded to the same thing, that if she lost to Gia Miller, she was probably done. And I kind of thought the same thing, but then I was also told that she has like a documentary coming on YouTube or something that's using a lot of the new production crew that TNA is going to use going forward.
Right.
So that kind of told me it's got to be a longer term relationship,
Yeah.
But she did beat Gia. So knowing TNA booking, the good guy always wins at the end of the day. There's never like, hey, the heel wins, let me move on to the next thing. Like Gia's going to beat her at some point. It's just going to happen. So I think that's a story that's still going to, continue. But
yeah,
I've said this a few times on my show, dude. When I went to the show in Las Vegas, the one that Macklin won the title, Unbreakable.
Yeah, at where the UNLV plays, right? The
Yeah, right,
basketball,
right. And I said it a few times, like they were chanting she's a racist, but I'm looking at the people around me and they're trying to be part of the show. Like I
Yeah.
didn't get the vibe that there was actual hatred for her. And I mean, I could be wrong. You know, I'm talking
So,
about one show. There's people
yeah.
who go to multiple
No,
shows.
so I talked to Billy from Philly is one of those guys that goes to most of the shows, most of the TNA shows, and he said he's seen it. Him and other folks have said that they have seen the people that are saying that stuff are also in line waiting for her autograph after the show. So that tells me that it was people trying to get themselves over. And I'm sure there were some people that like legitimately believe that, but I think for the most part, I don't think people in that company completely agree with that sentiment that she's a racist. That she did have that stereotype for a little bit, but I don't think any of the upper management and a lot of the wrestlers don't think that. I think a lot of people probably think she's a jerk. I think she probably earned that one and a bully, but I think her situation was more rage bait than anything else, and just saying something mean to get under somebody's skin. But she didn't appear to be a white supremacist. I don't think she's that. But so conspicuous by their absence was the chants at Bound for Glory. We didn't hear those chants at Bound for Glory, and you would have thought that that we would have, because it was such a big crowd, as a big stage, a big moment, and we didn't get that. So who knows? You know, they're going to go back to Full Sail University, and that's a complete mark crowd that wants to get themselves over. So we might hear it there, but so far, like my opinion, she hasn't had the matches that she used to have. You know, she's got some wear and tear there. She also is working half the time in Mexico, and I think she lives in Mexico, or lives there part-time. You know, that her boyfriend, like her latest boyfriend, Esfinge, wrestles for CMLL. She wrestles for CMLL now. She's a very part of that culture out there. I just don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, but apparently they do. So
they definitely don't think that about her. Like I can tell you that right now. They say it's that it was very overblown from what happened and what people think of her. I think the fans created a lot of the narrative, online.
I think Chelsea Green created a lot of the narrative. I think that she put a lot of that stuff out there. Her and some other folks that she's friends with put a lot of that stuff out there, and the bully stuff didn't really get the attention. But you used the word racist, and that's going to get a lot of attention. And so once they said that, then that's like, now that's what she is forever. And she has not done herself any favors by trying to, pay restitution for that, meaning like apologize in public and take accountability. She hasn't done anything like that. So it's only made it worse. And she is a bit of a narcissist in that sense, to where she's not very self-aware. And so just decided like, hey, like, you think this of me, I don't really care. And that's not helping her cause either. Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is that with the Gia match, there was a story that I think the fans were all genuinely interested in. So with that said, there just wasn't room for the chance, because they really cared about, even though it was a bad match, but they cared about the story, and they wanted to see what Gia could do. And they were so consumed with that. I don't think that, even crossed their mind to chant at her.
Yeah. What do you feel about TNA's current approach to talent acquisition and development? It seems they're relying more on released WWE talent than in the D'Amore era. What do you think about that?
I feel like they always have, probably more so than the D'Amore. The only era that I was covering the company where it really seemed like there's two eras where it seemed like they wanted to be different and go grab, go scout the Indies, scout the UK, whatever. It was number one, that brief time that Jeff Jarrett came back.
Yeah.
We brought Congo Kong and KM and all these Falabon, OBE. Like, that was an attempt at, and then the second time was Don Callis, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But other than that, whether it was Dixie, whether it was Scott, whether it's now, they've always been like, hey, who's getting released on Black Monday? And I think it's actually going to get even worse. Yeah. I think it's going to get, I think everything comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And the era of TNA that everyone hated, I think we're going to get back to that at one point. I really do.
Yeah. I think when they were doing a good job of scouting indie talent, is they did that because of necessity. It wasn't because they didn't want WWE talent. They just couldn't afford them.
Yeah, right.
And now houses are up, numbers are up. So they, you can see what happens. They start letting go of some of their homegrown talent. Like they're not going to pay a guy like Ace Austin, right? They're going to wait for fucking whatever her name is. The one that wrestles like a baby deer from Australia. Gosh, he was just in the
Indy Hartwell.
Indy Hartwell. Yeah, they're gonna give that money to Indy Hartwell, right?
Right.
Like they're not gonna focus on a guy like an Ace Austin, right? They're not gonna, they did really, and Scott, I think Scott D. Moore signed him, but Leon Slater has been a guy, and then they're gonna reference him, but for every Leon Slater, you got, Ryan Nemeth and all these other cats that are off, like Ryan Nemeth was in he was in that WWE system before he went to AEW, and now he came here. So you're going to get a lot more guys like that. I think it's going to get worse. Some guys are going to be really good. Desmond Xavier is more than likely coming back. And that's probably going to be a good get for them. But then you're going to get other cats that are off that system that don't really have any value, and they may not make it when you could probably, for a fraction of the cost, go and get an independent talent and then just make them your own, and they could be identified with your brand. And I just don't think that they have that kind of patience. I think they want an instant gratification. They're like, hey, we really like when Elijah strums that guitar and the crowd goes crazy. It's like, well, why don't you build your own Elijah and get that guy over, But
right. I actually don't think Desmond Xavier is going to show up. I think the Rascals are going to be done personally. That's just what I feel watching them. Usually they whenever they release someone, they cram them as many times as possible on TV at the end of their contract to like justify their pay dates. Like, remember when Rhino left? All of a sudden, like the last month of the show, you know what I mean? Like, when they all three came out of Bound for Glory for the Gauntlet, dude, I was like, they're trying to justify dates in their contract. That's just personally how I looked at it.
They're taking a month off, so now they have to like make sure that they pay them all their dates, right?
Yeah.
And
man, what was I gonna say? So I was listening to Russo's podcast. Well, he's doing he's MIA, but Stevie Richards and Ben Hameen were doing the show without him.
Ben Hameen's still doing it, huh? I haven't listened to him in a long time.
Yeah.
He used to have a podcast called The Impact Attack, and this is at a time where I think it was like only you and Ben Hameen were doing Impact shows.
Yeah.
I was like watching the show every week. I was like, I want to hear somebody talk about it. So I listened to Ben Hameen, but you had to like sit through an hour of him talk about like the Bilderberg groups and all the conspiracies that are going on in the country. And then he'd finally get to the episode. But I think he's actually he's got quite the personality, but I didn't even know he was still doing it. That's funny.
Yeah. He's still to this day. It's conspiracy. I'm like, okay, dude, let's get to the, I don't know if they do an Impact show, because they actually approached me. I wasn't going to put that information out there, but we're already talking about them. They approached me about potentially doing Impact for them. So that meeting just hasn't happened. It wasn't with him. It was with someone else at Hami Media, but the meeting just hasn't happened. So, but no, my point was, I was listening to him and Stevie Richards, and Stevie was like, when I was in TNA, and I think about him, like, that's how they book now. He goes, they were booking for, how did he word it? Based on the paycheck. So he's like, whoever was making the most was going to win the matches. There was people, who were getting paid, $400 for a date. They're not going to upset someone who's on a guaranteed contract or something like that. Yeah. So, did the Hardys still have the NXT belts, right? They didn't drop them on NXT or something.
They dropped them to Dork State at Halloween Havoc over the weekend.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, but it was a hot shot deal for that Showdown show, the Invasion show.
What have they hot shotted like 3 titles in the last few months? I mean, But my point was, like, no one on the TNA roster is going to beat the Hardys, who's on a, like, some people are like, well, I would like to see the Great Hands beat them. I'm like, dude, the Great Hands making as little as possible. They're not going to beat the Hardys at any, you know what I mean? So I don't even know how they're going to get the belts off the Hardys. Actually, I do. I think it's going to be Nemeth and Frankie are going to cash in together on them.
Oh, really? That's because my theory is it's going to be Javon Evans and Leon Slater that ultimately takes it, because Leon is like the protege. But I have been saying for a while that would be the prime spot for Private Party, because Matt Hardy was their mentor in AEW. They're free agents, or at least I think they no. I think it came out today that their contracts are staggered, so they're not becoming free agents at the same time. But that was my theory, that it was going to be Private Party, but now I'm thinking it would be Leon and Javon to do that.
Yeah, that was my other. To me, that's like the safe option, which is, TNA plays it safe 9 times out of 9. So, but yeah, that's just where, I don't know. I try to think of storylines ahead of time based on what I think would be interesting, and it never plays out that way.
Right.
So,
So like, I think what everybody needs to do when they're fantasy booking TNA is not do what you think would be a good idea. Do what you think TNA would do. So
right.
like, don't go where TNA should go. Go where you think they will go, and that's usually where you'll probably be pretty right.
Yeah, my point was, hey, look at it and say, who do you think makes the most money out of this matchup? And that's probably,
that's a pretty safe bet right there.
right.
All right, hey chat, I see. Oh, Joe Pearl's in the house. Chat, I will get to you in a little bit. I got a couple more questions here. BQ, how would you grade Delirious's booking so far? Has he helped or hurt TNA's creative direction?
I mean, he's not hurting it. There's just no change. That's the way I look at it. They bring him on, and everyone's like, okay, let's see how. Like, at least when Scott D'Amore came on, you could feel like a shift. Yeah, there's no shift. Like, it's exactly, everything is exactly the same. At least that is my opinion of it. I don't think he's like hurting it. It's just not any better. But I also have a strong opinion that wrestlers should not book wrestlers. Like, I like that WWE is not afraid to put people in creative who are not from the industry.
Yeah. They typically will revert back to the people that are in the industry, like, as the head of it, but they're not afraid to hire like Hollywood writers and stuff like that. Now, some of those guys come in and like the TV shows get worse, but occasionally you get some good stuff. I did think that at times some of the people they brought in would have some creative ideas, but they didn't have the right governor chip on them. Like Jimmy Jacobs, like, knows how to, he is like outside the box thinker, super creative, but Scott D'Amore couldn't rein that guy in. And next thing you know, we got people getting their fucking heads chopped off. Right. And you got people doing magic shit in the backstage area. And then RD Evans, you got him doing Russell House. Like these guys would be good if they had like the right leadership over them, but you lean into some of their worst instincts, and that's the type of television that you come up with. So for me, like Delirious, I just find him to be bland and paint by numbers. Right. My challenge to them at the end of last year was make creative again. Like, be outside the box, be what TNA is, but just kind of, go through some of the old TNA ideas, make them new again, but leave the bad ones. Like, we don't need to see reverse battle royals and all the horseshit and stuff like that. We don't need swerves in every other match. We don't need title changes every week. We don't need some of that stuff. We don't need run-ins in every main event. But we can, have some outside the box thinkers, but they go back to the same well over and over again. And Delirious was a guy that booked Ring of Honor for years, and you get burnt out on that. But why did he get this job? It's because he can structure a show, he can take direction, and he's probably not fighting the bosses, right? And I think that's been an issue with some of the folks they've had in that spot back in the day. Like, he's very much a guy that knows how to operate inside of a structured and a corporate environment, and so he's a good hand, is what they would call him. So,
but like, you bring up the reverse battle royal, and as bad as it was, they took a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the mindset that is gone. Yeah. Let us try something that we didn't do, and you can throw King of the Mountain in there. You can. I mean, everything, the mystery boxes with Tara and the tarantula, like, even though some of that stuff was bad, they were just like, let's do something that you don't see on another.
Yeah. Now, you and I are on opposite ends of the Vince Russo stuff, because I lived through Vince Russo when he was WCW, right? Eric Bischoff killed WCW, but Vince Russo like put some bullet holes in that fucking thing with some of his bad ideas when he was in charge. When he's in WWF and he had Vince over him, like in hindsight, 25 years later, a lot of this was bad, but in the moment it was awesome, right? And then he went to WCW and he kind of like blew the whole thing up, and it just. But here's what I will say in a positive. Here's what's positive about Vince Russo. Everybody on the card, everybody on the show, up and down, has a character and a storyline, right? They got something going on. In TNA, like maybe 30% of the roster has something going on, right? Everybody else is just kind of hanging out, waiting to come in and get called in, right? And that was one thing that I did like think that Vince Russo was good at, was making sure that everybody had work.
Yeah, you're right. It is like a small percentage that does, but they also do cram as many people into the show as possible. Yeah. But they feel crammed in.
Right. They're not there for a specific story reason, right? Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like obviously. Ultimately, Jody Threat was in the corner of Gia Miller, but it was like you just one day just saw her like come on screen with Gia Miller, and there was just no like, what is their connection? When Sami Callihan lost the match to Santana, and he's walking backstage with Joe Hendry, he's got his arm around him. Like, when did they ever?
Yeah, they were never friends,
right? Right
on television. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. We got some from the Impact Lounge Facebook group, and then we'll get to the chat here. Thoughts on Kalani Jordan as champion? So she turned heel. I don't know if you saw that on Tuesday night. She did a belt shot on Jordan Grace, turned heel on her, retained her belt. So she's coming back to TNA as a heel now. I guess they tried to turn her heel before, so I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna work. What do you think about Kalani Jordan?
Dude, I mean, I think she's okay. I probably like her a little bit better than you do. Like, I think I'm a little more.
I don't have anything against Kalani Jordan. I think she's fine. TNA did not do her any favors by putting her in there with Indy Hartwell in a big spot, because Kalani Jordan is still in wrestling school. So they put her in there with someone who legitimately can't wrestle. Indy Hartwell's greatest asset is her sense of humor, and she's coming out, and like her character in TNA is a good wrestler. Like, that's her character.
Right.
Like a serious good wrestler, and she can't fucking go. And so they did Kalani a disservice by putting her in that position. And so that's why the whole thing just fell apart. So I don't have anything against her. I thought that she did fine with Xia Li, or what, Laying Lee. I thought she did okay with her. When she's in there with somebody that's really good, like a veteran, she can go. But she was in there with Indy, and like Indy, like she's not any good.
And I actually like Indy a little bit better than you do, but the reason I was kind of like rolling my eyes a second ago is because I actually was legitimately pissed that Indy Hartwell lost at Bound for Glory. And the reason I say that is because, the goal is to put the belt on her. It's not like Kalani Jordan beat her and she's going to move on to the next person. Like, this is a story that's going to continue. And that was a bad match. And I said it in the week before when they had the mixed 6-man tag. I was like, yo, their interaction was horrible. The couple times they tagged in and wrestled each other was bad. Yeah. And I knew their match was going to be bad at Bound for Glory just for that reason. I could tell there was no chemistry, but I was like, well, at least Indy Hartwell's going to win, and she can move on to some of the knockouts who are better than Kalani Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just kind of like in my mind where it was going to go. And then Kalani wins, and I'm like, oh my God, they're just going to keep dragging this out. And we're going to see them wrestle like again.
Yeah. Well, and now that Kalani is a heel, that makes sense, because Kalani's a heel now. She didn't turn heel on Indy, by the way. She turned heel on Jordan Grace. But how could she turn a heel on Indy? TNA is taking off a month. So, but now she's a heel, so now she's got somebody to overcome. Because before she was, I think I'm with you. I think Ash by Elegance was keeping the belt. I thought that she had improved a lot since she had been in TNA and really kind of figured her character out. And she's another one that when she's in there with a really good wrestler, she like the matches are really good. So I thought that she was keeping the belt, but Indy was probably going to end up winning it eventually. They obviously really like her. Look, no matter what I say about her in-ring ability, the people do like her. I just don't think that her personality in TNA is anything that I want to see. Like, if someone's bad in the ring, if they have this big personality, that kind of makes it okay. But she doesn't have the big personality. She's rather bland in TNA.
Yeah, like I said, I think I like her a little bit more than you do. I'm not like completely turned off by her like you kind of are, but
yeah,
the problem is when you sign someone like that, they're doing a better job now of not giving them the title immediately. Like under Scott, you bring Indy Hartwell within 60 days, she's gonna be a champion. You know,
yeah.
like they're dragging it out now.
Right.
But the
Scott would
problem
write
is,
that into their contract.
yeah, that's one of the problems. But
Yeah.
I mean, but one of the problems is that you just know, like when Indy Hartwell showed up, you still knew she's going to be champion. When the Inspiration showed up, you just know they're going to be champions.
Yeah.
Santana, every people, you just know it's coming. You know, where at least with AEW, you don't got that. I mean, the companies run completely differently, but at least when they bring new people in, you're not like, oh, they just bringing them in to win a title. Like it just still feels like that with TNA too much.
The only guy that AEW did that with was CM Punk. Like they brought in Bryan Danielson, and it took him a couple years to win the title. He didn't even want it. So like they kind of like have their plans and they stick to their plans, and it doesn't matter who they bring in, they're not going to upset their plans. So AEW is really about their homegrown talent when it comes to top positions.
Yeah.
So, okay. Monte Carlo says, how are contract negotiations going with Havoc? Yeah. I don't think she's coming back, my friend. Although I heard that I did hear that she was actually getting herself in more physically fit is what I heard. So
yeah,
kudos to her. God bless her. I hope she does, you know, that it's a healthier lifestyle. So, Michael Spikes, that guy, he says, sorry, he only put in one question this time, but I thought he was banned from the group. My bad. He goes, I'd like to know how TNA can, creative can be better. Should they replace people in creative? I'll just answer this for you. Yeah, it could always be better. They could bring in like outside creative minds. They can give somebody a chance, right? Instead of going back to the well of this good old boy system where they're just bringing in somebody that was fired from somewhere else, bringing in literally Delirious, who was booking Ring of Honor when it died, right? So that's what they're gonna do going forward. Okay. All right. Some guy Paul says, are they looking to get back on UK TV? Of course they are. All right. Here's a good question. Kevin Patage. How would you guys book Casey Navarro when he returns? He's got charisma, and if developed well and long enough, I see him as one of TNA's pillars and someone in the main event world title chase. What do you think about Casey Navarro?
I can't see him past the X division, to be honest with you.
No, he's 5 feet tall, but yeah.
I think he did. So I didn't like him at first at all. And a reason being because I love Rich Swann.
Yeah.
But when they put him in at first class, you know, I was calling him economy class. Like I hated it. And it started like, I started coming around to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think he's got a lot of charisma, a lot of talent, but I'm having a real hard time seeing him as a babyface and being anything. Like as a heel, I could see him maybe get an X Division title run, but a babyface, I am not seeing it. But I could be wrong. He's good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I really like him. I too was kind of like when Rich Swann had to go out and they replaced him with Casey Navarro. I was like, I had seen Casey Navarro. He'd worked everywhere. I think he'd like done jobs on everybody's TV at that point. And so I was like, oh, they brought this guy in. It's like, is there not a star that we could bring in? So I kind of went against what I'm always preaching at TNA is give somebody a chance. They gave this guy an opportunity, and I thought he hit a home run. I really do. I thought like he came in as a pinch hitter and knocked it out of the park. I thought he established himself in the company as a guy that can be relied upon. Unfortunately, that he got hurt, but they did the angle to make him a babyface whenever he comes back. I don't see the feud between him and AJ Francis going anywhere. That's probably going to get forgotten about and dropped by the time Casey comes back. But I do think that he's really good. He's a very talented guy. He has a good backstory. So he has a lot of personality. And here's the thing that I think young wrestlers need to figure out that Casey does. He's probably not making a ton of money from TNA, but he wants to one day. So he's making TNA like his everything, and he's out there living and breathing and dying TNA. And he doesn't like you ain't got to ask Casey Navarro to promote TNA, right? You don't have to twist his arm to do that. You ain't got to ask him to go out to and throw a first pitch at a baseball stadium. Like he's just one of those guys, a hardworking dude. Probably didn't have like rich parents. You know what I mean? Like you can tell that he really wants this life. And those are the types of guys that TNA needs to focus on. So I like Casey a lot. And main eventer, no, but not everybody is, and that's fine. But I think he'll be a big time X Division type of guy. Okay. All right. Looks like we got a $10 super chat here.
Well, let me give him props real quick.
Okay.
He was placed in the first class with like almost no notice because I think he was just there as an enhancement talent. Yeah. There was another guy on the roster they were going to use, and he wasn't there for.
You going to say the name? No. No, don't.
Pretty sure Jack Price was supposed to be the guy.
Okay.
He wasn't available.
Yeah, I try to give you an out.
I know, but at this point, he's not with the company, so
yeah. All right, looks like we got a super chat. Said a big fan of yours, BQ. $10 to the Impact Lounge. She said big fan of yours, BQ. I'm a fellow SoCal Gam guy, but a Rams fan. Okay, I got to remove him. He's a Rams fan. I'm just kidding. So would like to ask you how you feel that NXT's Kalani Jordan holds the Knockouts title? I for one don't like it. I think you might have missed a few minutes ago, but go ahead and answer since he paid you $10.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do got love for the Rams, by the way. So I actually like both teams, but Chargers mainly. That's because I used to live in St. Louis.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, as I was saying earlier, I was pretty upset. Like I understood they had a back against the wall at one point, and they were like, "Yo, Ash is out. We have to put someone in the Ash spot." They literally like removed one and put the other one in there. That is all they did. They rewrote nothing.
Yeah. There's this feature in Microsoft Word that you can do when you have a document. You can control F. So they control F, Ash by Elegance, and then they typed in Kalani Jordan and hit replace, and then replaced them all. And that's all they did. That literally did the whole same thing.
Even as going as far as having her on the TNA team at NXT.
Yeah.
Showdown. You know what I mean? I don't think she's bad. I think she's got some uniqueness about her, but I just thought she was going to be a placeholder. I was positive at Bound for Glory. They're like, hey, we're going dog is on the ground next to me, and it's annoying the piss out of me, and I'm not able to focus. I was sure they were going to like change course. That's the term I was looking for. Right. I was sure they were like, hey, we had to put the title on her, but we've had some time to think about it, and this is how we're going to go. But they're so determined of Indy Hartwell taking the belt off a heel that again, she's just in the Ash spot. Which is why I pitched Danny Luna in that spot. But here's the thing: you put Danny Luna in that spot, then now you have Danny Luna being the team captain on NXT, and NXT's like, who the fuck is Danny Luna? Yeah, they weren't doing that.
Now we just want one of our people, so they just put it on Kalani Jordan, right?
The story would have been for Jody Threat and Danny Luna to have a little mini feud, which they're incapable of having a storyline that doesn't involve the damn titles. Yeah. But for them to have a little mini feud, something that actually could have built them both. But Danny Luna ultimately winning and then moving on. Like the path was there for her, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, they were not putting her on NXT TV. You know, I think that if the partnership didn't exist in the same exact scenario, I think it would have been her. If it was just, hey, we got our guys and our girls, I think it would have been her. But I'm not a fan of her being the champion just because I know this is not a story that I'm interested in. It's manufactured. It's I even shouldn't say it's a manufactured. They're just putting her in Ash's storyline, but they're making something fake out of it. I don't know. Like I'm not buying it. I'm not into it.
They're even like Kalani's even going heel so she can get into that Ash by Elegance role.
Exactly.
Now if she comes on TNA on November 13th when they come off their hiatus and her name's Kalani by Elegance, I'm gonna break shit. Like I'm no, just, all right. So Nick Riley says, out of all the no fewer than a dozen expiring contracts, who do you expect within reason to return? Everybody gets all up in arms about these contracts coming due every year. And like, it's the same conversation. TNA is dying, or is it, could it be that they just do short-term contracts, and most of these people, their contract's just going to get extended for another year. It's the same situation that they have in New Japan every January. Like January 4th is their big Tokyo Dome show. Like by the end of the month, most of their deals are coming due, and then they typically re-sign about 90% of them, and then some leave, and then they go out and they get more people. That's kind of how it happens. Now, last year, this time, they let a lot of people go. They let Kushida, Trent Seven, Rhino, PCO. A lot more people left, but I think they were just kind of clearing off the balance sheet and getting in some of some newer guys, and maybe weren't on higher figure contracts and more reasonable contracts. And then they wanted to bring in some more, like they wanted to bring like guys like Matt Cardona in more often. So I think that's why that happened. So I get the feeling it's going to be like 90% of the people that you're talking about are going to stay.
I just wish, I get why they did it, but I just wish the contracts didn't all seem to end at the same time, because I think it ruins the Bound for Glory booking.
Yeah.
You know, like Bound for Glory is always so safe. You can just tell it's like, hey, we're not sure who we're going to have in a month, you know, so we're just going to have all the good guys win, and they're going to be champions. You know, they always go into the new year with all babyface champions, and it's so just like uninteresting the last quarter of the year.
Yeah. Jay Brown says Mance Warner and SDL re-signed. Yeah, Fightful reported that, but they're only signed until June. So a weird contract to sign in October that expires in June. So
I wish they would try to do something with him. Like,
I like Mance. I think the act is great with Mance and SDL, and it's different than anything that they have, right? And he's another guy that's not like a Fed guy. He's not a WWE guy. He came up through the MLW system and Game Changer. Got a ton of charisma. Can work hardcore matches, but he can work actual regular matches, but more of a brawler. I think there's a lot that you can do with a guy like Mance Warner, and honestly, he's probably better as a babyface. I don't know if you ever saw his babyface run in MLW. I thought he did a good job with that too. So, you didn't like babyface Mance?
Dude, I haven't seen anything at MLW.
Oh, okay. So I'm talking like 2019 peak MLW back in the day. You didn't watch that?
No, man. I tried every 6 months. I'm like, dude, let me watch MLW, and they just never. They never there wasn't something that brought me in. There just never was.
Dude, they're in Charleston, South Carolina this coming up weekend, and it's 3 hours away. So I'm not fucking driving 3 hours. I'd have to get I'm 42. I'd have to get a hotel. I'd take my whole family with me. Otherwise, right. So we are expected to make a trip down to Charleston too, because they got a lot of historical sites I want to see. But you know, I think that they're going to keep like 90% of the people. Mike Santana's one of those guys that had a deal expiring at the end of the year. Let's see. Joel Pearl says TNA running with short-term deals certainly isn't new, especially with their taping schedules. Are also part of the reason why Ross hates it when talent talk about their contracts and interviews. Yeah. That's probably why when I interviewed Moose lied to me about his contract, and but he told somebody else that he re-signed a lucrative deal. So I think one of the reasons why talent is attracted to coming here or coming to TNA is because of the short-term flexibility that they can get. The problem is they're not really going to get behind you unless you're willing to sign a longer-term deal. So that's tough, right? Unless you're like a big name, unless you're like a Mike Santana. Mike Santana's deal's coming due at the end of the year. I think he's going to stay. I don't see him going anywhere else. I think he wants to be a top guy. And I think if he has a good run as the TNA champion, he could probably leverage the big two for a lot more money. So, but Joel Pearl's like, yeah, he told us. Yeah, I know, Joel. So side story. So I interviewed Moose, right? And Fightful had already ran the story that he'd re-signed. So I asked him about it, and he goes, "I don't know what you're talking about, man. I didn't resign." It's like, and then he tried to switch the subject. So then I DM'd Sean Rossap. That's where Joel works, is at the Fightful. Right. And I DM'd Sean, and he just sends me the link. I was like, he literally just told he just said it on a podcast. I was like, what the hell? Why is he lying? Like, it's like, bro, I can see you. I know the truth, but. I didn't really call him on it. So
Joel's not wrong about the Ross thing, because So the last interview I ever did was Rohit Raju, but I think the one previous I did to that, I didn't even do it. Someone did it for my channel, was Eli Drake.
Yeah.
And we broke his contract status, and Mike Johnson ran with it almost as his own.
Of course.
Oh my God, pissed me off.
Dude, he does that to everybody, bro. And then if you do that to him, that like they'll call the cops on you, but he does it to everybody.
Oh yeah, dude, that like that. And since then, I've just learned to be like, you know what, dude, I don't do it for like, I don't do that for the kudos, man. If someone runs with it, I don't really care. Like, but that at that point I did. Yeah. So that really pissed me off. But basically I haven't been able to get an interview since then.
Yeah. So the last interview I did with them, I think I interviewed Steve Macklin, and that was a long time ago. Yeah. And I only did 2 interviews with him because dealing with Ross is difficult, and getting him to play ball is difficult. And so I know some of the bigger publications he's probably like easier to get through to, but he has just been ghosting me for a couple of years now. But he did give me some parameters on those interviews. With Moose, I wasn't allowed to talk about COVID because he was like, Moose is not a doctor. He doesn't know anything about COVID. And I was like, I respect that. I was like, I don't really care about Moose's thoughts on COVID. And then he said that Steve didn't want to talk about WWE. I was like, I honestly forget that Steve worked there because I just feel like he's established himself.
Yeah. So. I agree.
But, I got more Mark questions for you. Hold on. All right. Justin Hongeva, who is, he's a big fan of Kyler Murray, even though Kyler Murray sucks. He says he wants to know your thoughts on Alicia's outfit at BFG.
What does Kyler Murray have to do with
it? Justin's a Cardinals fan, so I always got to bust his balls for being a Kyler Murray fan.
Oh,
yeah. He just wants to know your thoughts on Alicia's. That's just me busting his balls because nobody's going to watch this. He wants to know your thoughts on Alicia's outfit at BFG.
I've actually been a fan of a lot of the system outfits, actually.
Yeah, I think
I used to think her like ring gear was like really bad, but then once like the system thing, like all of a sudden it was like, I was into it.
It's a main event act, so they got to dress like main eventers, and that's a good thing about like when you're hooking up with Moose. Like Moose gets that part of it, you know.
Yeah,
I think Eddie just like rolls out of bed and goes to work, and that's what he wrestles in. But like Moose probably, he's like, no, guys, you got to fucking dress the part. So.
What I didn't like, I said on my Bound for Glory review, was that they did the Celtics versus Lakers colors. And you know me, I'm always like pointing out logic and stuff. And I'm like, okay, if the system wants to wear green because they're in Boston, like, wouldn't it mean they had to coordinate outfits with their blood feud opponents? Like that was the one thing that I'm watching, and I'm like, this is like phony wrestling stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, yeah, you don't have to have logic in wrestling, but it's better when you do.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, it's okay to say, hey, this stuff's goofy, but at the end of the day, if it makes sense, it comes off better.
Yeah. Johnny Smith, thoughts on the first year of the TNA NXT partnership? What do you think about? I mean, it's going on like almost 2 years now, but what do you think of it so far?
I mean, from a business standpoint, it's great. I just don't like it because I don't like NXT. That's my only thing with it. I watched it a little bit a few years ago when they kind of rebooted, and I did like it for about 2 episodes, and then I fell off pretty quickly. So I'm just not really a fan of like what they're doing. I shouldn't say what they're doing, but I think the promos are all sound very scripted. It just all like they do so much stuff that's just so phony that is not like they're viewed here in this partnership, but really like TNA's product is better than theirs.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like, and I think that's why like NXT has done a good job of bringing TNA into kind of a positive light and getting WWE fans behind TNA. And now TNA is outdrawing NXT at live events. So, all right, Pat, who is actually Pat Krauthamel, who is actually in Charlotte right now, but he works 14 hours a day, so he can't hook up. Says, what cities? Sorry, I just saw your private
You
chat.
can say it out loud, but
Yeah, no, it's fine. So, what cities and markets should TNA attempt to going in 2026? Well, I'm going to say they need to come to Charlotte, a wrestling town, and I can help them out a little bit if they wanted to do that. I live here now, so
yeah. I've been waiting for them, man, to hit St. Louis, dude. Because I mean, the time that I lived there, that's actually where Rohit and I met. It was at an indie show, and he was saying, he's like, dude, he's like, I do a lot of indie work. Like, I travel cities. Like, this area is hot. Like, this crowd is hot. This is special. You know what I mean? And it's just never a market that I was always just shocked they never went there.
AEW's had trouble drawing there the last couple of times, so maybe there's something to that. I don't know. NXT had trouble drawing there with Randy Orton too. Like
and I went to NWA there, and it was packed. So
but that was also the Chase Hotel, like in the ballroom, right? So you're probably 600 people.
It was like 1,000, but you know.
Oh. Okay, let's see.
No, I guess my point is I think they like indie more than like mainstream over there.
Gotcha. All right. Minor Lopez says, with the partnership with NXT, can we expect to see AAA talent in the mix as well for 2026? Well, I tell you, I think so, because Judas Macias has already been on TV. So I think they've already started planting the seeds. I think Macklin's going to go to AAA, and I would be shocked if we didn't see AAA people on TNA going forward.
You know what's weird is that they let the contracts run out of Laredo, and I'm not going to count Octagon. I mean, he wrestled like 2 matches for them, but it was just like really weird that contract, because he was AAA, right? I know he used to be Crash. I don't even know if Crash exists anymore.
Yeah, no, he was AAA. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. Like, that was weird. I thought for sure he'd be around. Yeah,
me too. Colby Ryan Cooper says, how different is the roster going to look next year with all the expo? Okay, we kind of already answered that. Like I said, 90% of the people are going to stay. 10% are going to go somewhere else, and they'll get new people in. The
only people that I think are going to be gone is I don't think Killer Kelly will be back. I would like for her to.
Yeah. I'd like to see her back.
Let us know. They're cool with her.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll let us know one day.
Yeah. Well, so they brought her in. They immediately put her into a title match, and she lost, and then we haven't really seen her since.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Okay, we got a little bit of time here. We're almost at the top of the hour. So let's see. We already got the Manson. Okay, with the possibility of new roster spots opening up and them doing low-level indie companies nowadays, could you see TNA, a Good Brothers reunion? Go ahead and shit on that one for us.
Oh, they suck a big dick, man.
Yeah.
That is one of the worst acts. I was real optimistic when they came to Slammiversary, just because I think I was so hungry for something new and different, and I viewed them as big stars.
Yeah,
like, that fucking run was disgusting, man.
Yeah, it was just a total cash grab. But you know what? I will say that I thought the Doc Gallows always worked pretty hard, but you could tell that Carl Anderson just didn't want anything to do with TNA. I don't think they're ever coming back. If there's any people there that are still in TNA, whenever Good Brothers were there before, it's like everybody likes those guys. They're like good guys to have around. But when it came to like what they were doing on TV, they just didn't work hard, right?
Yeah, dude. And I listened to their podcast a couple of times. They are so not funny, man. It's one of the worst podcasts. Mine's pretty bad, but theirs is like right there next to me, dude. They're two guys who find themselves to be very funny, but they're not.
Yeah.
And it's like that's bad for wrestling, especially too, when you try to force humor, which they oftentimes try to do, and it was bad. But my another one of my guys is Adam Thornstowe from Reno Scum, and it was like the debut match was versus them, and he's like, we didn't even get to work a match, like they got squashed. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
They were looking forward to wrestling these dudes, and it was like,
was that the match? So there's like this this is like in TNA lore, that because they were filming in front of like a no crowd at that point, and the Good Brothers come in and they work Reno Scum, and I think think that might have been the match where like it was taped and Reno Scum was trying to get some offense, but Don Callis ran out and like had them redo the match and said, "Eat their asses up." I think it might have been Reno Scum that was with.
I got a DM him and ask him about that.
So I'm not like reporting that, but I heard that something like that happened at the time, and like somebody was telling me like I think that might have been Reno Scum that happened to. I was like, that sucked because I saw Reno Scum in All Pro Wrestling in San Francisco when I used to live out that way, and like I would go and like those guys were like a featured attraction there, and I thought they were like okay, like but like they had a gimmick and. I thought Adam Thornstowe could work. The big guy, I can't remember the big guy's name.
Lester the Legend. He was the APW champion. He actually successfully defended his title against Jeff Cobb one time in San Francisco back in the day when Jeff Cobb was still in the Indies. But I thought they were a fun act, but they weren't going to make you any money, so they got rid of them because I think Adam Thornstowe really liked his tag team and did not like being a jobber, I don't think. Yeah, that was my read. Okay, so before I let you go, we're almost out of time. It's over an hour, and I'm getting the hook from upstairs because I think I woke my son up with my voice. So I got to get going. Okay, so TV deal looks like it's done. We're just waiting to hear like where and when. A lot of speculation out there. Everybody seems to think that it's going to be CW. I'm hearing that Wednesday is on the table, Wednesday nights, but we'll see. But it's going to be 2026. They're finalizing the deal. We don't know anything. Nobody's saying anything. I think a lot of people have the story, but they're not going through with it. What have you heard? Like, have you heard anything, or gun to your head? What do you think this TV deal is going to look like, and where would it be? I just know that there is one. I don't think that's a secret.
Right.
It's told out a while ago. I don't keep my ear to the streets the same way like you do and some of these guys, but I've listened to your pod enough to be like, CW makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of the Tubi thing because that's where they do the LFG or whatever, right?
The Evolve.
Oh, Evolve. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that makes more sense to me personally. But I will say what I was told about the night, because this was specifically, I asked this question when they were like, hey, they're going to compete against AEW. I was just told we're going to go on the night that the station tells us to go on.
Yes.
We're not out trying to compete or nothing like that. It's just obviously a station's going to have a slot for you.
Right. There's some shit stirs in the media that was like TNA hates AEW and it's like their enemy. That's not true. Like nobody in TNA has any negative feelings towards AEW. I think some of the wrestlers do because, when they were working together, none of the TNA guys got to go to AEW. And I think and some of the AEW guys that came over were pretty full of themselves. So I think there's some heat like there, but I don't think there's anything like where TNA is wanting to take down AEW unless like their enemy. And I don't think TNA is wanting to go on Wednesdays. I'm sure they would prefer to stay on Thursdays. But if, CW is going to give them $10 million, TNA will go on, Friday nights at 2:30 in the morning. Like they don't care. Like they
right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that partnership, the AEW guys didn't want to. They wanted to do the matches on Dynamite. No one wanted to come to Impact because at the time Collision didn't even exist. Yeah. They were working 4 days a month and making, a very, very cush schedule for their contract. And now it became, hey, go do TNA.
Right.
And that was an issue, And even Gail Kim said on Twitter 2 weeks ago, like when she was going out with Kenny Omega, she's like, you didn't even talk to us when you were there. And that's how basically what I was told. Every single person that came over was like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, whenever the two companies were working together, it always just seemed like AEW and their fans looked down on Impact and was like, why are you guys messing with these little guys over here? They're working in this little studio in front of nobody. And when they did have fans, they had hardly any fans. Like they're a joke. Like, why are you even messing with them? Now they're telling a different story because TNA in some markets and some events have competed with AEW. Now I don't think TNA is going to get close to like revenue generating and stuff like that. But I think if once they get this TV deal, I don't think they're going to beat Dynamite, but I think they're going to compete with Collision for sure.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and I think that they will do a lot of events in the same month and even beat them in certain markets. When it comes to ticket sales, I don't think they're going to get the pay-per-view buys, but I also think that TNA on pay-per-view is probably not going to last too much longer either. I think the future state for them is going to a streamer for their monthly shows because I think that's where the money's at and that's where the growth is at. But yeah, so forecast 2026, man. What does it look like for TNA? What do you see them, even growing even bigger than they have in 2025?
I 100% see them growing, but I just got this feeling in the pit of my stomach, as I said, that things come full circle, and I feel like it's going to get back. Now, obviously, we're not going to have the strong personalities of the Hogan and Bischoff around, but. Yeah. Man, I just have this feeling in the pit of my stomach it is going to loop back around to something very, very similar because history always repeats itself one way or another, you know what I mean? And right now they're in that same, okay, we have our own niche, but now there's a chance for expansion. So now we're going to change everything we're doing. And I've been saying on my pod, like the TNA, now is not going to be the TNA in a year we see in a year. Yeah. It could be good, could be better. I'm not like completely. I'm being somewhat optimistic about that, but man, in a pit of my stomach, I'm just like, I think it's going to come full circle, and I think it's going to be real similar to what it once was, and getting away from why we like it.
Yeah.
So. But I do think
it's like when your favorite garage band sells out,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what Joe Lanza was on his podcast a few weeks ago, and he said he goes when he'd watched Victory Road, and we were recapping that show, and he goes, TNA is like NXT but with some soul, right? It's like they have better wrestlers, they have a lot of NXT stars, but they have like the veterans, and they're not scripted. And they're not like their promos are not beat for beat written out for them. Like they're themselves. He says it's just a better version of NXT. And I was like, that's probably what it's going to look like going forward. As we start to get rid of some of these TNA guys and we just get more NXT trained type of wrestlers coming in, like, Ridge Holland and, cats like that. Like I see in 2026, it's going to be more of a WWE style product than it already is. But it's going to grow. It's going to be on a big time station. And I think they're going to try to go for a 10,000 seater at some point. I think they're going to try to get to 10,000. And if they get 8, they're going to tell you they got 10.
Yeah. And it's funny he said that about Soul, because I was watching an NXT clip the other day. What was the title change? What's her fuck, man? She's hot. The crazy girl. The one
Tatum Paxley.
Tatum Paxley, yeah. She won the title, man. There was absolutely no soul to the commentary. No. It was so empty. Like, I'm not saying he wasn't passionate, but it was just like, it just lacked like Jim Ross, it was so really, really empty. And then I saw when Jay Cargill turned heel on SmackDown, it was the same thing, just completely lack of soul, and it was just so empty, and it was I don't know, man.
It's just a bunch of people playing their parts.
Right.
They're not really feeling what they do, and that's kind of what that's how I've been feeling that way. Like it's not everybody, not everybody is like that, right? They do have some people that you can tell they really are feeling what they do. Like I think like a Drew McIntyre comes across as like super authentic, right? Like guys like that. But then like a lot of people are just like that's not how you really talk. like you wouldn't say those words in real life. You're clearly playing a role, and I don't believe in you, and that's kind of how I feel now. With TNA, you have some of that too, but I think with the lack of scripting, a guy like Mustafa Ali, who had been scripted his whole career, can come to TNA and he just comes across as this really big star because he's himself. And the same with Mike Santana. So I want to see more of that. So if we're getting these, AEW guys coming in and WWE guys coming in and pushing out our OGs, if they come in and they're still being authentic and they're not playing caricatures of what a pro wrestler is, I'm okay with that. If they're realistic, like Mike Santana and Mustafa Ali, I'm okay with that. Yeah. But if they're Muppets, I'm not interested. But hey, man, BQ, this has been a lot of fun, man. Greatly appreciate it. We got to do this more often.
I agree.
Yeah, got to do it more often. Co-streaming. Got a big crowd tonight. Thanks everybody in the chat. Please give me a like, comment, and subscribe on both channels. Go to both channels, Impact Lounge and the Negative BQ channel and the Mike and JD Show, and then head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show if you want some more premium content for that ass. But that's gonna do it for us this time on the Brace for Impact Lounge. And until next time, mahalo.
World spins round to the right, they say. I'll be spinning the other way. Doing what I can, doing what I know. The world's my stage and I'm the show.